Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, 4 nerds by nerds, hanging out with a couple nerds.
Nate the Nerdarch.
Nerdarchy is Ted.
And today we're talking about awesome die rolls at the table. Hey guys, maybe you noticed these awesome gaming shirts we're wearing from armorclass10.com. Don't dress like an NPC. You can find a link in the description below to armorclass10.com, official Nerdarchy sponsor, to grab your awesome gaming t-shirt. So today we're talking about hot rolls at the table, you know, whether it's stories that have come from them or ways to interpret those rolls while you're playing the game.
So first off, you know, dice are hot. It allows for things that wouldn't normally happen in a game. And I've seen times where a player decides, like, all right, I want to make a knowledge check. The DM didn't have anything planned in that vein, and they rolled really well.
Well, there's a good example of that from one of our games. We were playing with Brian Feaster and his Open Legend system, which has exploding dice, and Ryan rolled 3 20s, and they all exploded, and ended up with like a 78 or 72 or something.
I think it was a 71, but the number is not
a ridiculously high number. It had actually tied for the highest number that had been rolled up until that point in that game system. And it was basically like a knowledge check, and, you know, pretty much there wasn't a lot of knowledge to be gleaned, but now, because of this incredible roll, the GM, Brian, was like, well, something's got to happen now. You know, part of the principles, you know, behind that system is every die roll matters. You can't have a 71 on your die roll and not have something happen.
Right.
So, you know, he was able to actually treat the actual, like, magical disease a little bit and got all this information from it. Far more than he would have. And, you know, and that's one example. Open Legend is actually an excellent place for this kind of thing, for that kind of thing to happen. Like the dice are very much open to interpretation, and you do have the ability to get insane die rolls.
Absolutely, because the number can just keep climbing, and if you're rolling multiple dice and they all explode, they can just...
Yes. And you know, and sometimes you can roll one die and it can keep exploding over and over again. We've seen that as well.
Absolutely.
So, you know, but what that lends itself is to, like, it inserts these insane narrations into your game, which can be good or bad depending on how you feel about it.
Now, you know, the story I was getting into is where, like, you know, similar to what happened with Ryan, where a knowledge check was made, but the DM didn't have the knowledge, so he gave it straight to the player and say, okay, you tell me, you know, what you uncovered. And it actually allowed the player complete agency within the story to just dictate the knowledge that then became, you know, canon in his world. So I thought that was a pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely an interesting way of doing it. You know, I've seen really good roles where you know, you with knowledge checks in particular in our games with Scott Garibay, where he's like, here's the monster manual. Here, you know, you just had access to the monster manual entry for that monster because your DC was so high you passed it by.
And you know, in that same vein, I took that lesson into my game for when you guys were looking for information on the Death Tyrant, and I was like, all right, you guys rolled so well, you have the monster manual entry, do with as you will.
All right, I know this is me saying this, but enough of this knowledge chalk and good rolls with that. All right, so speaking of Scott Garibay, there was an insane series of events. There's more than one with Scott Garibay and Ted's game, but this one's particular where we're fighting construct beholders, and we were flying on these flying spider things.
Yeah.
And he was leaping on one beholder, fought it with everybody fighting all the beholders constructs until it was dead, leapt again to another beholder, fought that one, ended up in its mouth, then got out of its mouth, still fought it. Everything, they're all falling to the ground at some point. This last one falls down, and he jumps back on and gets caught. And it was just like a series. We're all like, Scott, what are you doing? You're going to die. Like, we're 70 feet up in the ground, and you have almost no hit points left. And he just kept it going. I mean, it's like
he was playing Beholder Frogger.
Yeah.
It's utterly incredible. If Scott does things in our games that is his normal thing, as what his character is built to do, a lot of the times he rolls a pretty median. But the second that he goes, like, off type, like, all right, I'm a human wizard, I don't have any spell slots left, I forget that I can cast a cantrip. So you know what? That thug who's got, you know, a melee weapon, I'm going to take it from him and stab him with it. Oh, okay, make an opposed athletics roll. Bam! Takes the dagger. All right, I attack him with it. Crit. Kills him. What? What? You're a wizard with an 8 strength.
And he rolled so good that he's like, oh, and by the way, I also legally changed his name to Susan.
So, like, yeah, I mean, those kind of things, they happen, and they're utterly incredible. And while great stories have the ability to become memorable, it's these crazy, insane moments when the dice do something that you're just not predicting, that are stories that are going to be told over and over by your gaming group. And I'm certain you've got those things.
Yeah, I mean, in my game, like 20 years ago, Nate was playing a monk, and back then the rules for monks and unarmed combat were way different. You had a lift gates, bend bars roll, and that was also your knockout roll for unarmed combat. I don't even remember if it was official or if that's just what we did.
No, I believe that was officially with the monks. As a class ability, they got that.
And I was not a strong monk.
No,
not at all. You had a very low % chance. I think it was like 8.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
And you knocked out 2 ogres
in one round.
So
like,
I leapt off rather than walk down and like try and engage them by running down the stairs or running out the door to them. I actually leapt off the parapets of it. So it was
the way I
in my mind it looked awesome.
In the way I remember the description was, you literally, because the ogres, they're so much taller, you literally stepped on the first ogre's exposed knee, leapt up and punched him, used the momentum of that to roundhouse the one next to him, so that he goes this way, that one goes that way, and you KO 2 ogres, in one leap.
I was thinking about when I jumped off and I think I attacked some goblins and did some other awesome stuff. I really liked that monk. That was a lot of fun.
He was a fantastic character.
Best 3 sessions of his life. Yeah, so all these things. Like one of my favorite moments was I actually rolled a 00 while drinking potions. So in that game, and it was before I even knew that this was a thing. Like the original AD&D had, consequences for mixing potions, and there was a random chart, and there was all kinds of effects could happen. Like you poison yourself, they cause an explosion in you. One takes effect, one doesn't. All these stuff, but one of them was one of the potions becomes permanent. And I got that 00. I was like, yes. And I didn't even know my life was in peril. Because we never played really high-level games, and those stomach explosions were brutal.
Absolutely.
And one of the cool things about 5th edition is they actually brought that table back. It is in the DMJ.
Nice.
So, and we've been playing a long time, so I'm sure there's tons of stories that we even forgotten of when things happen at the table. There's also other things that happen where they're really bad rolls, but because of them, fun things happen as well.
Yeah, and
when the dice aren't so hot.
We've shared those stories, but it was cool to share the other side. When the dice are really in your favor, it's cool.
Yeah, but I feel like the more memorable rolls are always the epic fails. Whether it's the DM failing or the player failing, in our game anyway, I think we have more of those stories of something that wild and crazy that happened.
Yeah, because a lot of times the DM's got super confidence, oh, I got no problem with this, and oops, I wasn't expecting that to happen.
It does happen. I'm guilty of this. My dice don't even need to be high. I'm just dropping them out in front. Oh, man. Come on. I'm so going to wreck that player. Maybe next time. That is the woes of rolling out front. But hey, guys, what are your gaming stories? Tell us those epic die rolls that just made it happen at your table. Share your stories in the comments below. While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
Don't forget to check out armorclass10.com for some awesome gaming shirts. Don't dress like an NPC.
You can hang out with us over on Facebook.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.